Hey Royals, welcome to our Team Kit class. I'm so excited to show you 4 cards using the Perfectly Plaid stamp set. I'm going to go ahead and flip and we'll get started, and I'll show you ways to use different stamp sets if you don't have the Perfectly Plaid as well. Going to hold real quick while I flip. Alright, be sure to comment, let me know you're here. I will look every so often to see what anyone has to say. And we are making 4 cards today. Some of you have ordered this kit from me and can either stamp along, and those who have it can still watch and learn tips, tricks, and then look at my blog later on for measurements and ideas of how to use this kit. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. I have this Perfectly Plaid stamp set, which was an awesome stamp set that came out last year. It is a photopolymer, so it's completely clear when you attach it to your clear block, and it has some great sayings, and it even has a coordinating punch with it. Because I sent it out in a kit, a lot of yours came with the tree. It's a pine tree punch, already punched and ready to go. All right, so I've made 4 cards for you guys to make. We're going to start with the Seaside Spray one. It looks like this when you're finished. And it has a really fun Z fold or fun fold. So when you open it, it looks like that. You can kind of see how that makes that Z. And yours came already cut and scored, so you should be good to go. And then we have these awesome layers. And I've even embossed the cute little gold tree that I punched out. Isn't that awesome? Let me go ahead and show you how we assemble it, and we'll be ready to go. Let me put this up here so you can see it in our view still. So if you're stamping along, grab your little paper stack that has a Seaside Spray. And I love this one because usually you don't see blues. It's more of a green and red. So I like that this is kind of untraditional and is using some of our fun in colors. As you can see, our card base has a score line, 2 score lines. So we have it measured at the 4 1/4 by 11, and I have it scored at 5 1/2 and 2 3/4. And this is what will make our really fun fold for this card. So what we'll do first is stamp. So we're going to grab our tiny little rectangle. It's this blue one right here, that Seaside Spray. And we are going to grab our Merry Christmas. And, oops, sorry, no, that's loud. And our Shaded Spruce ink. If you don't have this color, you can substitute it for another either dark blue or another dark green. We'll get that ready. Let me grab my foam real quick. Because we're using this photopolymer, I want to make sure that I have a nice, good image by putting some foam beneath it. And this is the Stampin' Pierce mat, which is now has been converted for photopolymer stamping. All right, let's ink this up, our Merry Christmas. Give it a couple good taps. And then you're going to just line it up and press down. I usually press down with one of my fingers, and I use another finger below to lift it up. And that turned out perfect. So nice. You see that Merry Christmas right there? Okay, so we can get that to focus. I know something. There we go. Merry Christmas on our stitch rectangle. Let me close up our ink. Oh, actually, I need to stamp one more thing, so let's leave that open. We're going to grab our Very Vanilla, which is also cut out using that rectangle stitches right here. And we're going to stamp a little plaid tree. You see, this tree looks like that, and it really matches the paper so well. That's the Plaid Tidings DSP, and this tree looks like just like it. We're going to go ahead and ink it up our tree, and we're going to just put it on that left bottom corner. Right like that. Awesome. That turned out really nice as well. Now we can close our ink. All right, Natalie says she's here, but she's watching but not stamping. She'll do that later, which is a good idea because then you can push pause. And this way I'm just going to kind of show you how to make everything. And that's kind of nice when you don't have to follow or stamp along. Okay, so let's go ahead and start doing some attaching. Let's use our liquid glue, and we're going to attach our inside to it. our card base, just like so. And I leave it so there's a little bit of framing here. There we go. And then we have some other layers. Before you attach these two layers, you want to attach your cord piece. This one's part of a combo pack that came with this gold cord and that really pretty shaded spruce thicker ribbon that's going to be in that card later on. Okay, so my secret for attaching ribbon is usually to use tear tape. If you don't have tear tape, regular tape would work. If you have a strong adhesive like the Seal Plus, then you can use that also on the back to help it stick. But I feel like tear tape is the way to go. And we're going to just put this on the bottom of our rectangle, about 2/3 of the way down. And put some tear tape on the back, like that. And then we're going to use this other side to help us to guide it. And we'll attach the other side by flipping it and grabbing some more tear tape. Tear tape is one of my favorite adhesives. I use it for so many things that it's almost a must-have in my craft room. Actually, it is a must-have. I shouldn't say almost. It's $7, but if you're a demonstrator, you get it for less. So that's great. All right, there's our cord on there like that. And I think, let's double check. I did not. So I went ahead and just glued this straight down. So if you want to, you can take off the backings of your tear tape. I usually will just leave them and make sure I get glue along the edges instead of trying to fight with that. But it's totally up to you. Sometimes I do take them off if I want to be a little bit stickier. We'll line this up in our shaded spruce rectangle that you should have cut out and ready for you. All right, and we're just going to line that up and make sure that it lays flat and dries. While it does that, we can go ahead and add our Merry Christmas that we stamped earlier. You have the option for this one if you want to pop it up or glue it down. I kind of like this one being glued down to look like it's part of the paper, but it's totally up to you of how you do that one. It's just about right there. Next, we're going to get our gold tree, and we're going to put, and this one I embossed. I love it. Look at that. With a dainty diamonds folder. I think that's what it's called. Let me show you the embossing folder. Looks like this. It is amazing. It gives so much texture, and I think it's growing to be one of my new favorite embossing folders. All right, so now we'll add dimensionals. Because our tree is littler, I do like to use the mini dimensionals when I do this one. If you don't have mini, you can just cut your full size in half. And let's add some dimensionals on this tree here. There we go. Now we're going to make it look like the bow is attached to this gold. But we're going to stick this tree trunk underneath our gold piece. Can you see that right there? So I'm going to stick that tree underneath our gold cord that we have right there. And then we're going to use our tie a bow. I think I sent your bows already tied for you, so you guys should be good to go. And grab a glue dot. And then we're going to stick that right over that bottom of the tree. And I like to put the knot to the dot and just press it, then pinch it with your nails, and then we'll place it right there. That looks perfect. I love it. Okay, secret now, we don't want to put this whole thing on, so we're only going to put dimensionals on half. Let me grab some. This one I'll use the regular size dimensionals. You want to at least have some in the corner. You could probably do 3 here and get away with 2 more. Just make sure you're not crossing the halfway point of this rectangle. We'll remove our backings. So that's ready to go. And then also, let's show you how to fold this card. Grab your bone folder. So it's going to look like this. You're going to take your front part and fold it in towards the middle score. And you're going to just use your bone folder to crease it like that. Now that we have it nicely opened, we can attach our front. And you just want to line it up so it looks like it's even on all sides and tops. And then press down. And you have your first Christmas card with that Z fold. Isn't that fun? I love fun folds. You may know that about me. I think they just add so much and it makes it different than an everyday card. All right, so there are our first cards using that Seaside spray. I'll set them aside real quick. Let me get ready to show you the second one. So I've made 2 in color cards and I've made 2 traditional color ones. This is another in color one. And what I've done is I've embossed all of these trees. If you don't have the stamp set or if you don't have embossing powder, there's 2 things you can do. So you could take our little trees that you got that are punched in the 2019-2021 in colors, and you can just dry emboss them, kind of like we did for this tree over here. I had that embossed right there. You can run that through your die cutting machine and have different textures or the same texture on your tree. You just want to make sure it's a little bit different because I did send you this embossed piece here. And then we also have our Ho 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 that's been embossed in gold. If you don't have embossing powder, you can stamp it in one of the in colors up here, or you can do it if you have a gold ink as well. Let me go ahead and show you. If you're watching the replay, this is a good time to pause because I did a lot of the prep work beforehand. So I have embossed all of these trees, and I did it off camera just because it takes a little bit of time, and I'll do one later on to show you how it works. But they are so pretty when they're embossed. And I use the Versamark, my gold powder, and my heating tool to get this look on these trees. And when I usually do embossing or any type of stamping with a punch, I usually will always stamp first and then punch later. So it's a little bit tricky to line it up on the tree, but it's not too bad because you guys, this tree is that photopolymer. So hopefully you can line it up just right and look over it and line it up. All right, let's go ahead and first attach our cord. We're gonna do it just the same way we did on the other card using our tear tape for the back of it. So you take a little bit, and you figure out where you're going to line it up. I could go and make sure that I have enough on each end. I line it up first, and then I fold one edge over, and we tape it down. I hear my boys coming, so hopefully they don't come in too loud. Let's see. It might be interesting here in just a minute, so I apologize in advance. You guys all know what little boys are like, right? Okay, so tear tape on both sides, just like that. And then we are going to use our liquid glue again. Because this side is texture, it's pretty smooth right now, so I might be able to get away with it. But I do not suggest using seal usually on embossed items because it can snag and then rip the paper. All right, let me go ahead and flip this over. And we'll line it up just nicely. I'm going to go a little bit higher. There we go. Like that. And then we can go ahead and add our Ho 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 using those little dimensionals again. And I'm going to put some on the corners. And I'll put 2 in the middle. Just like that. We'll keep this, take off our backings. And place it over. And you want it to try to push down that cord a little bit. The cord, because it's not a flat ribbon, it is rounded, it needs something to keep it down. And so this little label helps out with that really well. It's so thin, you can't really put tear tape underneath it either. So that's a good trick. So next you want to line up what color organization you want to have your in colors in. So for my first one, I had it like that. Let's go ahead and mix it up a little bit. I do like my peacock in the center because it's my favorite. I could probably put that one right there. We're just going to switch up those ones maybe, huh? That looks pretty good. Your secret for this one is your trees. You don't want to put the dimensionals too close to the outside. You want to go more in the center and have one on the bottom. So one on your little tree trunk and then have some center because we're going to have some overlapping. You also want to start with your outside trees so you know how far you need to go in. Remove the backings of that one. Maybe. There we go. And flip it over. I'm going to start this one just about there. And we're going to do the other side over here. Same thing, dimensionals in the center as well. Remove them and flip. And if you wanted to, you can kind of use the lining on this embossing folder on the paper here to kind of help you line them up the way you want it. All right, next we're going to go ahead and add these ones, and we're going to just have them up a little bit higher than that first row. And I'm going to add my very last one, the middle one at the end. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Natalie. 1 second. There we go. And people coming in, I just want to make sure they're not yelling as they come in. So let me set that one right about there. If you want to make sure you line up your peacock in the center, you could always go through here on your grid paper and mark it. I'm trying to remember if I eyeballed it or if I noticed where it went. I think it helps you if you do these ones first, and you can line it up better with them. All right, we're almost done. So this one's not too hard. It does have that embossing. There we go. And let's get our last tree on here. I do think this one looks really pretty and kind of elegant. And, oh, there's contemporary. Is that the word for it? They use a lot of golds and silvers. So I love the look of this one. Okay, we'll put that tree right about there. Awesome. We'll just start to fold it and use our bone folder. And this one will be done. Again, if you're watching the replay, it's a good time to pause it if you want to go ahead and finish and do all your embossing on the tree, the dry embossing or the heat embossing. Either way, oh, that turned out super pretty. I love this one. And if you want to redo this one, you can use any 5 colors. You can even use the same colors and have it in white emboss. So there's so many options for that one. All right, speaking of which, we're getting ready to do some embossing here. Now we're heading over to our more traditional colors using the same stamp set. Here's this cute one here. Again, I'm using the Plaid Tidings paper that we used in our first card. And however, I have it embossed inside and raised up to give a little bit of dimension to it. I went ahead and embossed this bottom piece already. So this is where you would go take your Versamark and your white powder and emboss on the bottom of your crumb cake. And then you should have 2 pieces of circles, a crumb cake one and a punched out stitched one with a tree in it. First, I want to show you the secret of the tree. I tried really hard to get them mostly centered, and the way to do that is that I had a pencil and I marked on the piece of white paper. I don't know if you see that, makes me get it close in enough. Kind of a little X mark, so I knew where my center was going to be. Because with this punch and this how small this circle is, it's kind of hard to line it up right. So that helped me out big time just by putting a little lines on the center of my circle, and I knew where my tree could be punched then. All right, so for this part, we're going to need to keep these 2 together, and I need to grab a couple more supplies. Let's grab, I have a piece of white paper, that's just scrap paper that I've folded in half. And we'll go ahead and open that up like this. You can use anything for your embossing. This has just been one of my favorite easy go-to ways to keep it under control. And then we are going to use my embossing buddy. Stampin' Up! No longer sells these. So if you have one, that's awesome. It will last for a long time. If you don't, what you could do is put cornstarch into a old sock and tie a knot at the end of it and just use that to rub over your paper. We do that to help keep it from collecting the static and the oils from our fingers for when we put the embossing powder, so hopefully the embossing powder won't go everywhere. We're going to go ahead and use that same Christmas tree that I had on the gold one earlier. And there's 2 or 3 other trees you could choose from. So you could use this one that looks like an actual tree there. There's that plaid one, or this one, and that's the filler of this one. I personally think this one looks the best in this style, but it's totally up to you which tree you want to use. They're all the same shape. All right, so we have our embossing buddy on there. I'm grabbing my Versamark, and I'm grabbing my white embossing powder right there. And what we're going to do is line our circles up like this. And I'm going to go ahead and stamp it with my Versamark, and then we're going to remove that top. Okay. See if you guys can see this without me getting my head in the way. I'm just going to kind of line it up and press down into it like that. Take it off, and then we'll remove that top layer and set that aside and go ahead and now add our embossing powder. I usually will do it like kind of an angle and shake it. Those little trees I did earlier were really tiny and hard to hold on to, so using your tweezers would be helpful, just like that. You could even blow it to get off some of those extra little bits on there. And then I'm going to grab my tweezers and my embossing tool and heat it up. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up real quick so I can emboss it and show you, because that's half the magic. So the fun part about this is that since I have this crease in this paper right here, I'm going to go ahead and bring my ends together, and then I'm going to just pour it back in. That powder that was left over on the sides, we'll reuse it over and over again. Then this, you can either use it again or throw it away. I like to just throw it away if I'm done embossing for the day, and it's easy cleanup. I used to use a paper pumpkin box, an empty one, and I'd have the powder come down in one of the corners of the hole, but I've really liked just using that scrap of paper is my go-to method. Okay, you guys ready to see some magic? It's gonna get loud, but this is the coolest part. Let me go ahead and turn it on. I like to have it on my high heat and just kind of do circles. We're just melting that powder. See if we can catch that. And if you're the first time you're embossing something, well, there it goes. It takes a little while for the heating tool to warm up. If I were doing lots of these, then it would be ready to go a lot sooner. There it is, turning. You guys see that? Oh my goodness. That is so pretty, and it never gets old. I'm going to just do a quick look. It looks like it's all done. Right after you get done melting it, sorry, let me double check. Okay. It can be a little bit tacky still. So make sure you don't touch it right away. You want it to let it to dry. So that way, I've done it before even with my tweezers, and I've got them wet with it. That is awesome. Next, we're going to go ahead and put dimensionals on the white piece here. I use the little ones because these ones have some smaller spots, and you're going to go pretty crazy with it. Very generous, I should say, as you put dimensionals on this one. Just like so, around all, you don't want the center part to sag since it doesn't have a lot of paper to hold it up. So you want to make sure we have a lot of support. All right, we'll take off all these backings. All right here. If you do not have the embossing powder for this one, or even that stamped, the perfectly plaid stamp set, you could leave this plain and not stamp it at all. You can stamp it in the Whisper White ink, or if you have another piece of paper, you can even stick like a pattern paper or gold paper underneath it, and that would look awesome as well. For example, let's see if I were to do it like that underneath it, that would work too. And since we already have that shape cut out, you could just put another circle color if you don't want the crumb cake as your treat look. Okay, now we're going to line it up over it, just like that. And we have our 2 layers. That's looking pretty awesome. I love it. I love how country feel this one is. All right, next you should have your DSP and this braided trim. And we're going to go ahead and wrap it all the way around. As you saw before with the cord, I rarely wrap things all the way around. I think that's kind of wasteful because this whole back nobody's going to see. But when I'm doing something like this and it's just a knot and not a bow, then I'm totally okay with it. So you guys should have enough in your kit to wrap it all the way around and then tie a knot. And you want to have that knot a little bit more to your left side. And then we're going to fray those ends. First, we're going to trim the ends and then fray them. Grab your two ends together and let's cut them just like that. I usually give about 1.5 inches. And I could always trim more, but it's hard to add more back on. I'm going to see if I can't shimmy this just a little bit. There we go. And then let's take it, and you just start pulling these parts together. And this trim does it really well and easy, just to give that threaded look to it. And you can make it all frayed if you want. And this gives that fake bow look without having a bow. This one looks kind of crazy, but I'm digging how out of control it is. If this won't stay still, you can always put a glue dot right underneath your knot, and that will help keep it centered. Okay, next we just need to add some dimensionals to this. The back of this one, I'm going to use some of my leftover cutoffs on this one. And with circles, I usually do a tripod look to it, or threes, because there's no corners. You can always put one in the middle as well. We're going to add this on just after we glue this part though. Go ahead and put some liquid glue on the back of this DSP, and we'll flip it. Okay, and I'm going to line it up just a little bit above where I have my embossing. Let me get that in view for you guys. There you go. Just like that. Okay. Oh, thanks, Natalie. I think this one's one of her favorites. This one's so, yeah, it's so pretty, so traditional, but has a really nice look to it. And people think, wow, how amazing it looks because of this little circle piece here. All right, we'll just layer this on, and this card will be done. Super fun, right? Oh, I love it. This one is one of my favorites. I love crumb cake, too, as a card base. So that one's perfect. All right, you guys ready for this last one? This one is by far the most advanced and kind of crazy. Hold on, it has dimensionals all over it. Or the backings. This one is so pretty, though. And I've embossed already for you this Whisper White right here. I use the Evergreen embossing folder, which we just found out recently that is carrying over. And so we'll be able to use this for future projects as well, which I love because this is just beautiful. And I placed it, when I did it, more up here, so it still has that empty space on the top. If I would have put it down here, you wouldn't have even been able to see the tops of the trees. So that's how I made that one. And then we have lots of layers. So many layers, but it's gorgeous. Let me set this one aside and we will do our stamping first. You can change up your saying. I did use the hope that your busy year comes together in Christmas cheer. And I just have a piece of paper, a strip that looks like this. And we're going to go ahead and grab that and our shaded spruce. That color right there. Flip it open. And for this one, I want to stamp as close as I can to the right side. So we'll ink it up. And put it right there. Press down in the middle and lift up. Gorgeous. Turned out great. I'm going to let that dry for just a second before I do the next step. But we want to flag the ends. And there's lots and lots of ways to flag your ends. One way I've been using lately is using the Banners Pick-a-Punch, and it has 2 different styles of punches you can use and 6 different sizes, 3 of each style. I'm going to use this one right here that has the flagging end, and this one's really fun because it has more of a arrowhead, I would say. that's dry, we'll go ahead and stick it in here. Let me unlock it by pushing that button right there. It springs up. And then we're going to stick this in here. And this is a 1-inch piece. So I'll stick that in there like that. But then I have to flip it over because look how crooked it went in. So I'm going to fix my alignment like that. And then I usually will hold the other side with my finger down like that as well. And then let's go ahead and punch it. Okay, that looks pretty good. Just like that. If you don't have this punch, then you could always just use your paper snips, and you would take it and do a cut in the center, and then come to your side right here and do another cut and meet where that middle cut was. And you would do that to both ends. So those are just 2 ways of how you can flag a card. All right. So next, it's just all about the layers. And what I should have done, if you want to make it easier for yourself, I did not send you in your kit a piece of Whisper White because I was running out and I was being very stingy at the time. I have more Whisper White now, so I can use it. But I'd suggest cutting out a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of paper, and this can help you line up your pieces. And also, it can allow you to wrap your ribbon around it. So, you take your embossed Whisper White right here and kind of line it up. And then we would take our DSP and we'd glue it on here as well. When I did this one, I glue it straight on to the card base, which totally works as well. This is just a way to make it a little bit easier. So let me show you how to do this way. We're going to use our liquid glue for the back of this and try to get some in these little nooks and crannies of the tree. And then we're going to line it up on that Whisper White and make sure it's good to go. That one's going a little bit over, but not too bad. And that's a good thing about using the white. It blends in really nicely. All right, let's go ahead and do liquid glue on this one. Again, using that Plaid Tidings DSP. I love that DSP. We used it in 3 of our cards today. And we just used little pieces of it. And so it's great because we can make a lot of things with it. Okay. So now you should have your strip of this shaded spruce ribbon, which is just gorgeous. There's 2 sides of it. There's one that's a little bit more shiny, and there's a duller side. You pick which side you want. And then you can either use tear tape right here as well, or you could do the tear tape trick on the back. This one, because I didn't have that Whisper White underneath it, I ended up tear taping it, and then I trimmed it to fit. And so it just lays that way. This one, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my tear tape on the back because that center piece will keep it pretty down in the front. And for this one even, I'm going to grab, not my tear tape, I lied. I'm going to use my seal. I'm going to put just a little bit of seal on the back here and get it started. There we go. Like that. And you make it long enough so that you have some wiggle room there. And then let's make sure that it's lined up on the front again. So we're going to have it ends on both sides and looking straight. And then you're just going to fold it over. On one side, I can hear that stick. And then I'm going to fold it over on that side. There we go. Awesome. Now we can attach the rest of it to our card base. So you can use some more of that seal and keep it going. Some in the center and along that bottom. And make sure you get a little bit more also on both ends over there. There we go. And it's super sticky. You see it's sticking to myself. All right, let's get our card base back in here. Make sure you guys can see it. Okay, I'll put it right there. Awesome. Super easy, right? That wasn't too bad. All right, let's go ahead and attach this while we're here, sticking things on with some liquid glue. You could use dimensionals for this part. Again, I kind of wanted our sayings to be more flesh with the cards on the ones I've made. I feel like, there we go. Okay, next we just need to glue these 2 layers together. Put it on the back of this one. And then we need to add our trees. For the trees, I only popped up the center one. The side trees, I glued down with liquid glue, and I did that first. So we'll take our 2 colors. I did the shaded spruce and the cherry cobbler because it matches our DSP that we chose. And I'm just going to put glue down the center because some of my ends might go off a little bit. So we're going to put this one right about there, and that one right about there. And they'll just overlap a little bit. You could even make one a little bit taller if you wanted to. And lastly, we'll grab our DSP and we'll put that one in the middle. Okay. We're almost done. You guys are doing awesome. I know this has taken a little bit of time. And hopefully you guys have learned something new, can share what you've learned with someone else, and make even more cards. How many of you have all your Christmas cards ready to go to send out, or at least made this year? I am just about done. I'm so proud of myself. I've made so many cards this year, earlier than usual. All right, we're just going to put some dimensionals on the back of this one. I use the scalloped circle from the layering circles for this cherry cobbler, and then I use the stitch shapes for our whisper white circle. So this one I've used lots of dies and embossing folders for, to kind of show you different things we have. Okay. We'll put this one on right there in that center. We still want to show some of our trees off and make sure our sign's ready to go. Our paper on the bottom. Also, this would be a good card to put some Whisper White on the inside because it's such a dark card base that you want to make sure you have somewhere to write and leave a message. There we go. There are those last 2 cards. Very traditional and lots of layers. Let me bring out all the other ones we made today. We have our seaside one. Our beautiful crumb cake, and our beautiful in color trees. I hope you guys have learned something new today, and if you've bought the kit that you can assemble it, I would love to see how your cards turn out when you're done, and be sure to share it on our Royals team. All right, you guys, feel free to ask questions. I will post later on in the comments my blog link so you have all the measurements for this card and more directions if needed. Hope you guys have a great day, and I will see you guys later. Happy stamping, everyone. Goodbye.